How's it going, everybody? Mike back at you with another edition of 5-Minute Gaming, 5 days a week at 5 o'clock. However, I am making a new rule to that 5 minutes because this is the very first show where I have a special guest. And when I have a special guest, I want to have a little bit more time with that special guest. And so this show is definitely going to be longer than 5 minutes. I'm shooting for around 10. So that is the slight asterisk to my rule. When I have a special guest, I want to allow a little more time. And with that, my special guest is going to be my son, Brett. And why am I having my son, Brett, on this show? Because Brett can play some games that I cannot, and he can play them really, really well. And one of those games is called Geometry Dash. Now you may be thinking, oh, it's like a math class, right? I'm going to learn about shapes and triangles and squares. Well, I'm sure Brett might tell you it's not quite that. And with that, I am very happy to toss over to my son, Brett, who is down here in the corner. Say hi, Brett.
One.
And Brett, it's great to have you with me. And what's great is you can show the viewers how to play some games that I cannot. And with that,
yes.
First, I just would like you to tell me why you think Geometry Dash is so awesome.
First of all, I'd like to kind of make a statement and say that a lot of people consider Geometry Dash as kind of more of a mobile and kind of just not a very interesting game, but I'll get into what makes Geometry Dash one of my favorite games, aside from the popular opinion.
Fair enough. Well, I am perfectly happy for you to just begin, and let's have a little bit of Geometry Dash. Let's go to school on Geometry Dash. Brett, take it away.
I will just demonstrate some of the first level gameplay. So the whole point of this game is to jump over objects. You see there's the pillars and there's the spikes, and basically just the entire purpose of the game is it's basically guiding your character like this, guiding your character through a level of different kind of obstacles but it's not just a cube. You see, here's a portal. In the portal, you can turn into different modes. This is the ship. It works where every time you tap on your mouse or your keyboard, or if you're playing on a mobile device, if you just tap with your finger, it just pulls it up into the air. So if you tap a bunch, it can kind of straight fly it. And then in general, you basically just jump over things, and I know that sounds pretty boring, but there's a lot more to it than this. So this is it's just the first level. It's not too interesting overall. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to a different level.
I do see some triangles and squares in there.
Yeah, so you could argue that there's geometry in the game. So for example, this level probably looks a lot harder to you. If you've never played this game before, this level probably looks a lot harder than what I just played. This is definitely a step up in difficulty. This is a level called Time Machine. And it features a lot of these things called 3 spikes, which are difficult jumps. You have to jump right at the end of the spike. When you see just 3 spikes in a row, that's usually a pretty difficult jump in general. And this also features a thing called the mirror portal, where you turn around like this, which is also a new thing. And you see the whole world is basically just reversed, so that's another interesting thing. But I'd like to also show you that there are a lot of different kinds of modes in this game. So, for example, let's take Hexagon Force. This has some nice gameplay. Probably looks decently hard. Not too hard, but looks like you could do it with a little practice. So right off the bat, you've got the ship here, where you have to steer it through this, and there's some invisible objects, as you can see, and those are kind of dodgeable. Here you have the ball. The ball switches gravity every time you tap, and those orbs right there are also things you can tap to kind of boost you into the air. And of course here we have the confusing portal. This is the dual portal. It makes 2 of your things, and every time you tap, each one of them jumps, so it does their own kind of thing.
And I will add to this is the part of a game where my head would explode if I was playing it myself.
So obviously what I'm doing, you need to have a lot of practice for it. Here's the UFO. This works kind of like the cube, except you just jump in the air. It's kind of like Flappy Bird. So here we have the dual ball. And you see there, I made a fail. So to learn in this game, to really get good at this game, you're gonna fail a lot. Yeah, trial and error. So yeah, if we go ahead and look at the final level here, Deadlocked, the hardest level, I have 10,000 attempts on this level, and of course I've beaten it a couple times, but it takes a lot of practice to really learn how to do some hard things.
And one quick question, Brett. How many years have you been playing Geometry Dash?
I mean, it's been on and off, but I've played this for a total of 6 years.
And let's just say there was 1,000 people in the world that play Geometry Dash. Would you be number one?
I would definitely not be number one. As good as I am, there are people who can do way more than I can. There are some things people do in this game that I question how they can do it. But I am definitely an above average player.
So here you're going to show us a really hard level, right?
Yeah, I'll show you something decently hard. And I might die a few times within the showing, but this is a level that I'm currently working on beating. I have a total of 94 out of 100% at the moment. So these are called community levels. The levels I just showed you are all the main levels. You can play them just like anywhere. See, I did a fail. You can play them anywhere, and these levels you need an internet connection to play these. These you can find in the search tab, or if you save them, you can find them in the save levels tab. There's plenty of things for you to explore when you get the game with the community. There's so much more than just the main levels. And I'm going to show you a really cool feature of this game in just a minute. Let me just put in one last attempt. And as you can see, this ship part's pretty difficult. There are some other really difficult levels. I guess I'll put one attempt into this level. This is another level I'm working on beating by a creator named Dansman. Yeah, I'm getting some frame drops. The one thing I have with this game is that it has a lot of problems with lag. I don't know if you can see that, but on my screen, I'm getting a really low frame rate drop.
But you were saying it doesn't lag on your phone, right? It lags on the PC.
Yeah, it has pretty bad kind of managing quality in terms of stopping lag. So this is another hard level that I've beaten before. Anyways, I think I'm going to move on to showing you my favorite part about this game. So here you have all these tabs. The Hall of Fame and Featured is where you can find new types of levels. The Weekly is where you can try a weekly hard level. Daily is where you can try a daily easier level. Map Packs is 3 levels where you can gain extra rewards called coins. And Gauntlets is just extended map packs. And of course the search tab. There's so much to this game I wish that I could show you in 10 minutes. But for now, I'm going to move on to the creating section, which is one of my favorite parts about this game. As you can see, I have 2 levels that I've been working on, Storia and the Final Stand. But here, I'm going to use this level set up right here to kind of show you the basics of the level editor. So first of all, when you load in, you're going to see a lot of things here, and it's probably pretty confusing. So these right here, if you go to the build section, these all here are all the different tabs of objects. So you have the outlines, you have the ramps, you have the spikes. This is a 3D section. Then you have the portals and the orbs, some more decoration, and the rest of this is basically decoration. And then you have the triggers, which will also do really cool things. So you can use these objects in any way you'd like to kind of make some basic gameplay. Right here, you can design kind of just some really quick gameplay for you to do with this. And you can also use the swipe tool as like a drag tool. And there's a lot of things that I wish I could show you in the time frame, like I said, but so for example, then you can click this here. Let me turn off this. You can click this button right here. This button you can use to playtest the audio for syncing with the song. You press this button to play, so you can playtest it while you're in the editor. So for example, there I made a mistake with the spike.
So quick question, Brett. Say I wanted to do a Geometry Dash level to Michael Jackson's Thriller. Could I do that?
That gets a little complicated. See, there's some basic gameplay there. The complication with that is that you have to use a song that's on the website called Newgrounds. If the song isn't on Newgrounds, you can't really use it. You can, but you'd have to replace songs in the files, and it gets pretty confusing there. So, for example, I'm making just some basic gameplay here, and once you've created this, if you want to go ahead and test it out, you can go up here to the pause button and hit save and play. And here, now you can try your level in normal mode like any other level. And there's so many things you can create with the level editor. There's just too much to show you in this 10-minute video. I guess I can really quickly demonstrate the triggers, which are a major part. So let's say I have this object here, right? You can't jump that high. You know, there's no way for you to pass this normally, no matter what you do. So if this is where it's going to get a little confusing, just bear with me. If you select the object and you edit the group, you can give it an ID. So if I add 1 to this object, it'll basically say this object is 1. And the object and the level remembers that. Now let's say I wanted to grab a move trigger and I wanted to move these blocks up so I can pass through. I would put a move trigger here. Now I'm going to enter this, and this probably looks very confusing, but the best I can do to explain it is Y is on the Y-axis, so it goes up and down. X is on the X-axis, so it goes side to side. 10 is 1 block. If you do 1, it's like a tiny little space up. So let's say I wanted to move it 4 blocks up. It'd be 40. And the target group ID, I'm going to want to target that object as 1. Because this object, remember, we gave this object 1. So if I make this 1, and then let's say I give it a move easing, now if I play the level, it moves up for me. So this part of the level creating process usually takes a while to learn. There's so many different triggers you can use. Like let's say I wanted to make it invisible at the same time. I have to activate 1, because that's the group ID. And the opacity is the amount you can see it, so I'd make it 0. And as it fades up, it disappears. And one last thing, let's say if I wanted to make it change colors, I can use the pulse trigger. And this is the most confusing part for me. I don't use the pulse trigger very much, so I would make it a group ID number 1. And let's say I wanted to make it red, so I'd use the color wheel here. And let's say I wanted to make it red. So the fade in would be 0.50 seconds. That's about a pretty easy fade in. So like it kind of slowly turns red. So now, see if that worked. There we go. It fades red. And if I want to make it stay, I have to give this a number like 10. And that'll last a while. So there it stays. It stays red. And there's plenty of things you can do with the triggers. As you can see, there's so many triggers to use. There's just so many objects, the editing section, the deleting section, the swipe, the rotate, and all these things. If you can learn it, you can literally let your imagination just go wild with whatever you want to do in the editor.
Well, unfortunately, we are at about 12 minutes. And again, I am totally fine going longer because this is a special guest on 5-Minute Gaming. And I think it's important to spend the time when someone else has been willing to help out my show. So,
yeah.
But with that, we'll call it good. In the comments, ask some questions. Brett can answer them. And if you want another Geometry Dash for advanced users, I'm sure he'd be happy to help.
Yes.
But, I would say as last words, Brett, why, if you had to tell someone in 15 seconds why they should play Geometry Dash, what would you say?
Endless possibilities, and it's a grind with endless possibilities with whatever you want to do. With any shape, anything you want to do, you can do it.
And right there, he said the word grind. And that for me is, at my age, the grind sometimes is not quite as appealing. But I think for other folks, they feel the call of the grind, like Brett. So, Brett, you're super good at this game. I've always been impressed what you can do, especially because you do things in this game that I cannot do, and I don't think I could. So, Brett, ladies and gentlemen, is very good at this game. I know he's humble, but I will say he's definitely put in years of training on this game. So, with that, Brett, thank you very much for being on the show with me today. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me, too, to show about a game I really like.
We'll do some more. And with that, again, thanks for watching the show. And I would always appreciate if you would like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really helps me out. And I have plenty more games to share. So with that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching The Watchmen.
Please click on here to watch other episodes, and be sure to hit that like button too.
And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll always be alerted to any future episodes.
It really helps us out, and we appreciate it.
We'll see you next time. And remember, we'll be watching.